1 2 1 2. We are back. GYGB War Report Show. The first week of December is come and gone. We are going to talk about it. We got fights this weekend, particularly one. Well, really just one, and actually, well, no, a few, but there's a caveat to one. But yeah, I am Roberto Flack, my man Coltrane. What is popping? Yo, is it freezing up there?
Oh man, it's hardcore cold
down here, man. So.
Oh yeah, it's one of those eastern shoreline fronts.
Yeah,
I mean, it hit the whole shoreline, so it's like 20s, 30s, but it was like snowflake. It's that somebody tap your ear and it's hurting for like 20 minutes type of cold.
Yeah, yo, man, I don't.
The greater Northeast is tough, man. Listen, my homie, real quick, he lives in Hawaii. So he's like, every time he see the news and there's a snowstorm, he's like, it's like, you guys are aliens to me. Like, it's insanely, like, it's like, how could people live in those elements? You know what I mean? And he lives in Hawaii, he's from here, but he moved out there, he got married and lived out there. And it's like,
it's kind of like living down here, man.
Right. Same thing. He's like, I can never go back. You got Northeast ties, and it's like, it's brutal up here, man.
And to be honest, outside of my wife's fam, my blood fam, there's only one, one section left in Long Island. And
everybody left.
Everybody else has migrated down here, man.
You know the running joke. Everybody from New York is in Florida. It's like there's
a lot of Philly dudes down here.
It's starting to be the whole Northeast, but. What did Jada kids say? Gangsters don't die, they get chubby and move to Miami.
word, shout out to Jada. Yeah. But yo, man, yeah. So look, we had our show this past week. Following Wilder Fury, which we're still going to talk about. But to start the show off, man, I think it's only right. It's been in the news in the boxing world as it relates to. Adonis Stevenson's condition, man. Now, when we wrapped up the show late Saturday, we're coming off Stevenson getting knocked out. It was a highlight reel.
Yeah.
As we wrapped up the show, though, we still had no idea of the severity of Stevenson's condition, man. And as we all woke up the next day, man, we found out that he was in a coma, and there was complications. And as we are here today recording, he had brain surgery, and he's still in a coma as we speak right now. So it kind of was like no pun intended, to the boxing world, but it was kind of like a punch to the gut for a lot of us fans that were, because even if you didn't like Stevenson for whatever reason, man, it's like you never, particularly us diehard boxing fans who we've seen this time and time again, man, unfortunately, and to see this happen to Adonis Stevenson, like it kind of was like a standstill type of deal, man, and we were like, wow, man, none of us were expecting this, but none of us. Would ever want this to happen, man. I mean, and it's very unfortunate. And as we're speaking now, we don't know what the longevity mean. As far as his condition from here onto the future. I mean, we're praying for the best for Adonis Stevenson and his family, man. That are having to cope through this too, but. I just wanted to start off the show, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. And
obviously aware that, because I mean, I forgot. I mean, it was late, man, and
it was late. We didn't find out
about the knockout and everything.
I sent you guys the link because remember, just to kind of back up what you were saying, he got knocked out. He got up. Everything seemed fine. Precautionary. Everybody pretty. A lot of fans might not know this, but 90% of the times. Even fighters that win sometimes go to the doctor.
Right.
For precautionary. There's always an ambulance sitting at the back of the arena. Whatever fight you go to, whatever level.
Right.
And most of the times they go, precautionary check, brain scan, whatever else, maybe a concussion check, however it may play out. But there's always a process that takes place. So we just thought it was business as usual. Like, he's going to go get checked out. He got knocked out. He got up. He seemed cool. That's what makes this situation so different from a lot of others, where a lot of time when this happened to guys, they're knocked out and they might not recover, or they may get up, but they normally get off the ground and go right into a stretcher. He actually got up and sat on a stool and seemed coherent. And it made me think about Gerald the G-Man McCullough when he fought Nigel Benn. Remember how that, and listen, we're not speculating. Our thought, like Roberto said, our thoughts and prayers is out to any fighter in the combat community that go through something like this. Like, boxing is a brutal sport. And a lot of times, Adonis Stevenson is a household name, so we were privileged to hear about this story. Not privileged for his sake, but just the privilege to hear the information. There's so many fighters that you don't know about that go through extreme situations, involving the brain. Just like the NFL is dealing with that, or have dealt with that. Boxing got a long list of these type of things. It's just that it's not as popular as the other sports, so you don't hear about it as much. Anyhow, Gerald the G-Man McCullough, his situation was crazy. I remember clearly watching that fight. He was clearly better than Nigel Benn as a fighter, and we're like, why is he taking these knees? He's not even hurt. And the commentators, the doctor, Freddie Pacheco, and those guys that were covering the fight, they were like, I don't know what's going on. Like, he's just taking a knee. And, of course, we all know what happens at the end. And I never forget, and we'll move on, but I just wanted to finish off with this. Roy Jones was, he's really good friends with Gerald McCullough. He does a lot for him. But I remember Roy Jones was saying that he didn't really like the violence of boxing, like watching it. And that's why he fought the way he fought, because he said – he recalled watching, it just sticks out to me, him saying this, because this fight was brutal. He was talking about Iran Barkley and James Toney. Remember Iran Barkley, eye was like hanging out of his socket, and he was like, I couldn't watch it. And I'm like, at the time, like, damn, he's a boxer. Like, he's a boxer. What does he mean he couldn't watch it? But he was just saying, like, just reminding everybody, like, obviously he started getting knocked out later, but he's like, I fight my way, like, just making a point, like, why he fights the way he does, because this sport is extremely brutal. But anyway, like you said, Roberto, our thoughts and prayers goes out to Stevenson and his family. We're hoping, not just for a speedy recovery, we just hope that, he can maintain all his wits and all his faculties, and, and come back healthy, and be able to fight again. Because no matter what our opinion is, like you said, of a fighter, we never wish that on anybody. Like, that's just, these people got families, they got lives, forget their careers, just being able to, maintain a normal and healthy life with their family is the most important thing right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great point. And look, let's not get it twisted, man. I mean, there's fighters that we particularly maybe don't like, but I mean, every single dude that walks through those ropes with a pair of gloves,
bro,
has our ultimate respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's not get that twisted. But we, like I said, our thoughts and prayers to Adonis Stevenson, man. We're hoping for the best.
No doubt.
Let's get right into it, man. I mean, I want to just kind of, because we have obviously, Vasily Lomachenko, Jorge Pedraza this weekend. I kind of want to touch on the fact that, this weekend is HBO's last show and the 45-year tenure of a broadcasting boxing.
Longer than me and you've been on Earth. That's crazy.
Nuts, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that kind of for like the end of the show, but you touched on something that really struck a chord as far as like just thinking back when we talk about what transpired this weekend between Wilder and Fury, and today is Wednesday, and you said it, man. We are still talking about heavyweight boxing in the United States.
Isn't that crazy?
How crazy is that, man? So we've seen Deontay Wilder I forgot this dude's name whose show he was on, the late night show.
Oh, he's been making the Hollywood rounds. Like you said,
Yeah.
he's been making the LA rounds, basically all the big time shows.
Right. And Tyson Fury's been getting interviews,
Right,
and
right.
he's like, bigging him up. He's like becoming like a hero. and the funny part, and this has kind of been like the narrative of our chats for like since the fight, man, is where does Anthony Joshua fit in this equation now? Oh man, because as we're talking right now, the pay-per-view numbers are starting to roll in. And look, I don't think any of us expected 1 million buys. But anything in the 350,
Yeah.
and if it hits 400K, and they're saying that's the range, it was a successful pay-per-view.
That's a success.
Based on what I was reading, the scale of it having to go over 250 to break even. So if they're doing more than that on a business tip for the back end, they're getting paid, man, which usually means we're gonna run this back. and look, I'll be the first to say, before I pass it to you, man, I'll be the first to say, man, like I kind of thought that Wilder wasn't gonna approach this, but we're kind of hearing they might want to, go right into it. Yeah. And at this point, why not?
Yeah, I mean, listen. I texted you earlier and I said it's crazy how this was supposed. Listen, and some people might not want to hear this, but this is just how the business of boxing works. There's an A side and there's a B side. Deontay Wilder was the A side going into this fight Saturday, and Tyson Fury was the B side, meaning that there's a term that we say in boxing. It's called serve up. A server up essentially is a guy that's put in the ring to make fighter A look good, basically. There's no knock, there's no diss. And although he was a 2-to-1 favorite, only a 2-to-1 underdog, and although a lot of us was picking Wilder, there were some people out there and their voices wasn't as loud as the Wilder people that was in it. Well, hold up. This guy can box, he can move, he's slick. He can potentially give Wilder some trouble. So, but still, that being said, he was put there to be a serve-up guy. So from a business standpoint, I don't even think they knew it was going to happen. When I say they, handlers, all the handlers involved, I don't think nobody knew going into this that this was going to, I mean, Fury, let me take that back. Even Fury guys, let's be honest. This was more of a pulse check. Let's see where our guy is. Let's see how he's doing. Maybe we can eke out a victory. But nobody thought it was going to be theatrical as it was. Like everything played out. Remember, I texted you guys right after the fight concluded. I said, in a weird way, this might be good for Deontay Wilder because let's face it, the Joshua fight wasn't going to take place anytime soon. So now there's nothing better than a dance partner. Case in point, when Pacquiao fought Marquez, he ended up getting 4 fights out of that fight. This was supposed to be a 1 fight. When they signed the fight with Pacquiao, Pacquiao's a different animal, but still, I'm just making a point how boxing works, how you end up with. Look, I can even go to, now this is a boxing purist bag I'm about to go in. Remember when Junior Jones fought Marco Antonio Barrera? He got 2 fights. Now, people are probably like, who the hell is Junior Jones? You know what I mean?
He's like the unspoken guy when we talk about like Barrera, Morales. Right.
He's like that elephant that nobody never talked. Like, this is a guy that not only once, but twice beat Marco Antonio Barrera. So listen, every now and again, something goes beyond the script, but in a weird way, it can kind of help the A-side fight. Now, Deontay Wilder has something. It's just twofold situation. Not only Deontay Wilder, but the American heavyweight division now have a story to be told. That's the key takeaway from Saturday night.
Right. And I think now, and you touched on it, like Wilder at this point, is kind of in a situation he's never been in a lot of different ways. Right. Like he now, we've known he's had vulnerabilities.
Right, no doubt.
We've known this, going into this fight. And look, a lot of us even said, if you go back, all of us, me, you, and ROD said there's the likelihood of Fury outboxing Wilder for the first half of the fight is pretty high.
Right.
That could happen, or very likely to happen. And it did happen, but it went longer than we expected even though there was knockdowns. Now, look, the other thing that I don't know, we didn't touch on much last, you know, when we did the immediate recap, but the story now, or one of the stories is the 10 count, you know, and I think in the rematch, it's gonna be the big story going in, saying, you know, Wilder should have had the knockout. I've seen this, the ref's name, this guy, Reese. There's a I forgot who published it. He went into detail why, you know, he, you know, counted to 10 or got up to the point where like he allowed the fight to go. I mean, you can search on YouTube; it's on there, but it's created that much more controversy on top of the scoring. So, as in the hip hop world, controversy sells, right? Boxing is no different. And look, I think, you know, at first I really thought that Wilder, based on how he performed in the fight, he like obviously he needs to work on some things, and I'm thinking like, all right, they might put Dominic Brazil in there, and then maybe a Fury fight. And then there was a point where I'm thinking like, you know, will Joshua just like kind of like take a plunge and think like he could beat him? But I don't think that's gonna happen. And I'll before we wrap up tonight, like I'll talk about some things, you know, we kind of heard through the grapevine as it relates to his potential next opponent. But anyway, look, I think right now it's kind of like a Canelo Triple G type of situation. Not exactly as far as how the fight. Well, no, you kind of can say it ended in a draw. And I guess it's the likelihood of it happening next, man, is pretty high. And let me say this as well. We see Fox is doing Mikey Spence, and I've said from the beginning, for Deontay Wilder to get major notoriety in the United States, he needs to be on network television. And with these network deals that Al Heyman set up, you notice the key players in the PBC are starting to migrate to Fox. And you start to wonder now, being that this pay-per-view did good, and this was Showtime promoting it, you know, what's the likelihood of Fox stepping in saying, hey, you know, Al, I think, you know, we could do a really good job promoting this second fight, man. So imagine them doing a promo of Wilder Fury, like, on Fox.
Yo, bro. First of all, the fact that Spence and Mikey is taking place, that's a whole... I'm still trying to digest that.
Right.
I mean, the fact that that's happening, like, and listen, I know people love Mikey Garcia. I like him too as a fighter, but there's weight classes for a reason. And not only is he moving up in weight, and I know I'm sidetracking, I'm sidebarring here, but when I saw the promo on, what night was I watching football? Remember I told you
Sunday, that was it Thursday night or Sunday night?
One of the nights. Anyway, they really went out their way to show the promo for Mikey and Spence, like doing, like, they ran this Fox schedule basically for 2019. So they're going out of their way to promote it. And I think this fight here is like the poster child for what's to come.
Right.
But yeah, that would be insane if you could somehow smorgasbord all that and then, you know, show
a summer fight, man.
Yeah, that would be. I told you I want summer fights back.
I miss July summer fight.
I miss it. Like, I mean, that's been taken. What we have, Garcia and Broner this last.
Garcia and Robert Easter.
My bad. Garcia and Robert Easter and Danny and Porter. Right?
Did they fight in the summer?
They did fight in the summer. I remember being sometime,
like,
and I know because I remember being like at my aunt at a cookout or something and watching it. Anyhow, but. Matter of fact, it was September. It was still kind of summer.
You're right.
That's not really summer though. So that's I want to get back to a big July summertime fight. But anyhow, but to your point, I think that would be crazy if they could somehow do that fight on Fox. You know, that would be.
Yeah, man. I just think, like I do, the Facebook videos and things as such, man. And look, one of the big topics we've been we all of us in general are talking about is the fact that I think Fox is gonna come in full throttle, and look, man, especially coming off Saturday night, that we're still talking about it. You know, I honestly think at the very least, not saying it's gonna happen, but I think there is invested interest in them trying to promote that fight. And another thing, they got it. I think the second fight, well, it still should be in the United States again because of the whole
right. Yeah, we can get into a whole bunch of politics, right?
Yo, Barclays Center, man.
Yeah,
because the Brits fly over to New York.
It's a 6 hour. Was a 6 to 7 hour flight from London to New York.
You think that's a sellout?
Oh no, dude, that's big business for all parties involved. And I think that what I told you about, especially like when you get into currency conversion, you know, our money
stretches, right? With the
yeah, right, exactly. You know what I mean? Their money stretches. If you come over here, their currency stretches over here. You know what I'm saying? So you got that aspect, and I just think that, you know, let's face it, all the big time fights, you know, even Lennox, I'm sure could have did crazy number, but he ended up coming over here, and I think to your point, I think that's a huge fight. I think it's a huge fight, but it's funny though because this, like I said before, this is what boxing needed. But like, there's a funny joke, right, Roberto, about Will Chamberlain when he scored the 100 points. I don't know if you heard the story. He scored it in like an arena like the size of like a high school gymnasium.
like the December 31st, Joe?
Oh yeah, like Rigondeaux's last fight a couple years ago over there. But all these people said they were there because it was such a great event. So the legend grew. You know, I like William Wallace in Braveheart. He was supposed to be 7 feet tall. You know, the scene when he say, "How tall am I?" You know, same thing with the Will Chamberlain situation. All these people said they were there because it was just this great event that nobody went to, by the way.
Yeah. It's like you were there, like
but nobody. This place only seated like 100 people, but like 100,000 people said they were there.
Yeah.
Well, this is how Wilder and Fury is becoming. That's not a bad thing, though. It's becoming now. Everybody saw the fight. Now you know what they did. You know what I mean?
The casual sports fan is still talking about it.
They're buzzing off of it. That's a good thing, though. I'm not knocking it. Anytime people, even if it's true or not, because sometimes people equate highlights with actually watching something, which is, hey, whatever.
Yeah. Yo, shout to my man Eric. He's on the chat saying Fox only needs Fury to sell it. Did you see him singing American Pie in the press conference?
Man, I saw him sing Biggie before.
No, he's a hip hop head.
I know.
Look out where it was. He was in some training session. I could have sworn I heard Mobb Deep or Lost Boys. One of those. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
No, look, definitely.
Fury's only 29 years old, man. 28.
I didn't know that. Yo, I thought me and Sleep was arguing. I'm like, he like 32. He's like, yo, they showed his age. Not even 30 yet.
Yeah. He
just had a rough life.
Wilder's older than him. Wilder 31, man. He's like bud.
The thing about it is that you got two charismatic guys. Wilder is they're two people champion kind of guys, right? Wilder's, you take me for instance, all of us for that matter. You know, we don't really have a dog in a fight. We just want to see good boxing. But we embrace Wilder. Seemed like a really nice guy, right? Got hard, not a bad guy. You saw at the end of the fight the gamemanship and the professionalism that these two displayed for each other. They don't even, you're not normally guys sell fights. They're just two really likable dudes, and that's not really their shtick. So you got these two guys that people really embrace and get behind, and the bottom line is when it came in between the hashes, they balled out. Like they you talking about leaving it all out on the field? There was nothing left at the end of that fight.
Yeah.
So now all people, the worst thing people hate is that they wasn't there to, you know, like when you was young, when did all the fun happen? When you left and had to go in the house for the night. And they're like, yo, you should have been there, like we end up doing this. The same thing with sports. Like people want to be there. That's why the rematch, even if it don't live up to the first fight, the legend of it has grown so big that everybody in the village want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm saying, man, Barclays Center, summertime, that'll be nuts, man. I just think they need to move it to the East Coast. You know,
that was the problem. The fight started too late, too. It was extremely – I mean, thankfully for me because I was able to watch it.
Word.
Y'all watched it on my phone, like on the floor.
Yo, that's nuts, man. Yo, yeah. welcome to 2018, man.
I was so afraid to lose my stream. I couldn't risk it. I'm like, I'm not changing this joint.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so we're gonna know probably sometime after the end of the year, and then, you know, well, I think, you know, like again, like I didn't think it was gonna happen, but y'all called it. I mean, I honestly think that's gonna be the next fight.
Yeah, I mean, it everything we listen. Joshua is not going anywhere. Like that. Even if it's in 20, like that's
they've stolen his thunder, man. They've really stolen his thunder.
What they did was, and I like the fact that they both called them out, which I never saw in my life.
That's hilarious.
You ever see that before?
Never.
What the? That was cool though. That was cool. That was a cool moment because it reminded, because a lot of times fans are like, well, this guy is scared of this guy, or this guy is never. We always say this on Guard Your Grill. It's never the fighters. Don't, even with Joshua. Joshua, he ain't no punk. Like, don't think that. I mean, they're calling him a chicken because they're gotta sell it to you guys. But these guys aren't. Listen, they're warriors. When you watch any warrior movie, who's putting the strategies and the plans together? Most of the time, the guys that aren't doing any fighting. You know, the major fighting, so to speak. You know, the council, you know, sit look at, you know, we watch Star Wars, right? A lot of the council members, aside from Senator Palpatine, you know, who was in disguise, but a lot of the people that put the plan together, they're not Jedis and they're not warriors. These are the same thing in boxing. The handlers that put this stuff together, these are the smart guys that like Roberto just came out with the idea of having a fight in New York. The smart guys that make the money, you don't think they're saying the same thing? Like, let's put this fight in New York.
That fight's in New York. We're there, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I would go. Like, that's a fight. It's a couple fights. That fight, any of the Joshua fights. Obviously, we said if Spence and Crawford happen, we don't care where it is. We are going to that fight. Yeah,
Des Moines, Iowa. Like, we're there.
I will put a family vacation on hold to go see that fight, bro. Like, that needs to happen. But I just think that, Roberto, that the fact that you got two likable guys and Joshua, like you said, they did steal his thunder because this was basically them calling him on the mat. But also, though, it makes the fight that much bigger now because now people are like, in America, they're like, well, who's this Joshua guy? Like, what is, you know, because they gave him an alley-oop too by both of them calling them out. You know, it boosts his legend status up that more. And let's face it, they're calling him out because of this, not because he's not. This ain't a legend fight. Like, let me fight this guy because this is gonna put, you know, me in another page in the legend book. This is about the numbers that guy brings.
Right. And look, and that's the thing we can't ignore as far as Joshua's concerned either, man. Yeah. I mean, he's making a lot of money.
You kept saying it. Like, to your credit, I didn't really, when you said he was, remember Radada was like, well, Wilder is like, you was like, yo, man, this dude, you know, I just looked at his Instagram account and I was just like, wow, he's extremely popular for a guy that he hasn't been out that long. And then you were saying the money that he's making. Then I looked it up. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's pulling numbers in the UK, man. And look, and this is why I made the argument that if Wilder were in the position that Joshua was in, it would be Joshua that would have to come here, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's definitely.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I guess they'll figure that out.
They'll figure it out. And Joshua may want, sometimes those guys over there, sometimes they want to come here. It's weird how that goes. It's like,
what if they did, or the winner? I mean, well, the thing is, we have to see how the rematch plays out because that'll define wherever this fight takes place. Because if Wilder does beat Fury in a rematch, I would say MetLife Stadium, Wilder, Joshua, man.
Let's have it. Yeah.
It's like if you want to start like going down that route, but that's in the future, but not too distant, man. My man Eric saying just my opinion. Once again, Joshua lost his A side in the money side.
Yeah. Here's what I think. What's going to happen with that? I think that it'll be more of a fair breakdown this go around versus. I don't think it's so much more of an A side. I think it's public perception side where the public realized that Fury beat Wilder. There's no denying that. But I still think that it's a situation unless Fury's able to secure the Joshua fight. We don't know how that's going to play out. We still don't know. I mean, he could possibly get it. But if he doesn't, I think that now he needs Wilder again. So there's a need versus a want.
One, right.
So he needs to fight. Wilder needs, and I also like the fight, just switching gears real quick with that. I like the fact that they're both going around making these interviews because I think it's important when Wilder's doing these interviews, and we'll get into like his hand injury and all that in a second because we got to touch on that before we close out. But I like the fact that he's like, oh no tune-ups. That has to happen ASAP. Like you got to get in front of this stuff, just to gain some of that back from Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, you touched on it, man. The news that kind of came out was, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Wilder saying he hurt his hand in training, and we all kind of have our taboos as it relates to when fighters make men have to fight.
I can go down a list of stories like this about
Mr. Shoulder and
shoulders. Ribs,
knuckles.
Like we don't even have to name names. People that follow boxing know what happened in these situations.
So,
somebody fell out of a shower. Do you remember that one?
Oh wow,
that was my favorite one. That one.
Oh, that
was epic. Yeah,
that's crazy. So, man. So I think ultimately. We're probably going to know sooner than later if they approach this. I honestly think they should in hindsight. I mean, this is particularly like in the sense for Wilder, like
Wilder needs
that momentum again, and
he needs this,
so we'll see. One thing I wanted to touch on too, man, that's been kind of one of the storylines since September. Everybody's getting their deals. Canelo's obviously been the big story with the deal, which is going to debut next weekend. We'll talk about that next week. The PBC deals and things as such, and the one dude that's like kind of still out there, and we heard that he's going to make an announcement before Christmas is Triple G. He's kind of been the almost like kind of like with LeBron and the whole the decision. He's kind of been the guy that everybody's been waiting to see, like, where's he gonna go? It's really down to, we did get confirmation that he met with Al Heyman. Now, that doesn't mean he's gonna sign with him, but I think it's smart just to weigh your options out. Just nothing wrong with having a meeting. I mean, for all we know, man. He can offer Triple G something that we have no clue about, and they're like, but a lot of us believe, or like the consensus believes, he may just end up on the zone naturally because Canelo's there. There's other fights he can have that will, gain him the middleweight title, or if he decides to gain a 168 strap, there's, one of the tougher guys at super middleweight. But needless to say, there's not a lot of time left for Triple G. So whatever he decides, it's going to be, I think, a 2-year deal at most.
Yeah. See, this is what I think. I told you my opinion on this. I think that, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's going through, he's making his rounds, that's what you're supposed to do in any free agency. You're supposed to listen to all offers, which he's doing. It's 2 different scenarios you got here. So if he signs with Heyman, be prepared to. You're going to fight either Charlo, or Jerry Hurd, one of the two. Like whoever, even though Hurd's at 54, but he's a big 54. I think this dude can cough and make 160 pounds tomorrow, if need be, but I think those are your two, mainly Jamar Charlo. I think that's a collision course that they would try to make happen. Now, with the DAZN situation, we know the golden goose that's there, and that's Canelo, fight number 3. Right. So, I mean, people, you put yourself in Triple G shoes, what would you do? I mean, I think it's kind of common sense, but
the only all right, I threw out this narrative and people thought it was crazy, but my thing for him to go to the PBC, I mean, number one, there as far as if he wants to get belts, he definitely not there. There's nothing he can really get from there. Yeah. The only fight, and I started to think, I'm like, all right, what can Al Haymon provide Triple G that would trump a Canelo fight? And look, the only fight that came to mind, and I know people think I'm nuts, but it would only make sense if he was still the champion, is if Floyd decided, hey, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to go for my, 5th division title, and that becomes I don't care what people say. Floyd and Triple G, if he was the middleweight champion, would trump a Canelo.
Oh yeah, oh no doubt. Oh yeah, that's the only scenario.
It's the only scenario, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh wait, he's not a champion anymore.
Right.
So I think he's probably going to end up.
I think he's just listening. I mean, obviously the cash is there for them to pay him, but the problem is they don't have that cash out fight. Like Triple G is looking for a cash out. Like he's not going to sit around and fight some 28-year-old middleweight that's on a rise and, that's powerful and strong that could potentially knock him out on the way out. I mean, he got a granted chin. We all know that. But, age catches up with everybody, and I'm just saying the DAZN situation, Canelo's there. They fought each other already. They would be under the same promotional banner. Fight will be a lot more easier this time than last time. And, at this time, he's just looking for the ride off in the sunset with a big payday. I just think that Al Haymon, he's taking a sit down. And they're obviously, because all these guys have we can't say, in the work field, they say 5-year plan, but in boxing, a 2 to 3 year plan. Let's just say that. I think the 2-3 year plan would involve somehow him and Charlo crossing paths. Like, we got a couple of these guys that aren't stars yet, but we're going to make them stars, and we can guarantee you that you're going to get a big fight, in a year's time. Where with the zone, it's like, all right, he fights one fight, then where we at? I don't even know where we're at because in boxing world is so strange. Well, we're in December right now, but in boxing terms, you're looking at maybe another fight with him and Canelo in September. Now, here's where things get a little tricky at for 2019. We all know who's coming back. Speaking of Floyd, who's fighting. When is Floyd fighting? In January? February?
Floyd?
Yeah, remember he said the fight was back on with the Japanese kid?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything. But remember he had
New Year's, or New Year's Eve,
since weird, right? He said it was off, then it's on.
Since he said it was back on, I haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, let's just say he fights in February, which seems more realistic. We know Pacquiao's fighting in January. Let's just fast forward because we know both guys are going to win. You know what's happening next. I know some people don't want to hear it, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. That throws the whole calendar off because you know what date Floyd is coming for if him and Pacquiao fight again, because.
And he would still get it.
Yeah, and he's going to get it. He was still, because especially with Canelo not having another big-time guy to fight, So this puts him and Triple G off back to September again.
Like, I think Canelo will fight in April.
He will fight in April and then fight Triple G in September. I was just saying this. The reason why I brought all this up is because he's going to sign with the DAZN. Is where I was going with it.
I just think that's where more of the options are. And look, and even I still think Depending on what the WBC does, and I mean, if they decide to stay at middleweight, I still think Charlo is gonna get paid, and they're gonna let Triple G fight again for the title, and then they're gonna say the immediate fight has to be Charlo again. Right. Because it's about money, man. At the end of
always
the day,
about the it's always about them Benjis.
Man, exactly. Shout out to Puff.
Yeah.
And look, I think it's a situation too where DAZN looks as if they got deep pockets, you know, and you know when you're like wrapping up your career, man, it's kind of like with other athletes, man. You want to get that last contract, that max contract, you know, because you're wrapping up your career, you know.
He's like Al Heyman over there. He's like the white Al Heyman.
Oh,
Hearn, I'm saying the son
or whoever's running DAZN, you know,
well, DAZN, right? But so Eddie Hearn is he's
in charge of the boxing department.
Okay, gotcha.
He runs Matchroom, but the guy who runs
DAZN, so who owns this guy? Some .com guy?
Yeah, it's I don't know exactly what he is, but he's an executive
Google type dude.
Yeah, he's some I don't know if he's a Swedish dude or German, but
some Swedish banker. You sure? What's my name?
Schaefer.
Richard Schaefer under a ghost account. he has a burner account, and he's
I think DAZN is it's an international app, and like
I got you. It's just an app that's internet. Because when I pulled it up on Instagram, there's a bunch of different categories. Like,
right. Well, in the United States, we only have because I got the app, man. I'm like, yo, man, I'm like, whatever, man. You know, I'm gonna be watching.
Too much to keep up with. It's too much to keep up with.
yeah, man. So I got it has cricket, soccer, boxing, and MMA.
That's hilarious, by the way.
So far, they're gonna try and branch out because I mean, not to like talk about like networks and like, you know, how much, you know, the networks pay out and things and such, and it gets crazy. But you know, we're going into a new age, man, where you know this is kind of becoming an option. So I mean, we'll see. The DAZN, you know, think about it. Like DAZN hasn't even gotten out of. It's like what? It's September, October, November, like 3-month run, and they already have Canelo. They look like they may land Triple G unless something, you know, you get a curveball. And then, you know, I'm pretty sure other people are going to come aboard. I think that the question is at what point, and this is going to be a whole other show, but when everybody starts to kind of like, you know, hey, I need this guy. Hey, I need this guy. What are we going to do? You know, so and that's going to happen next year. At some point, there's no they have no choice. So
real, before we wrap up, where does Showtime fit into all this? Do you think they're going to become like HBO and just kind of out the equation?
This, man, like with Fox now working with Al Heyman and these dudes, like where like Showtime is kind of like it's almost like Fox's HBO now. You know, like where they've always been the big brother.
Yeah,
like they can't compete, man. So I think Showtime will still get like fights, but not at the level of where we're gonna be likely seeing in 2019, man. I mean, again, let's also remember dates are a situation too, but so is money, man. And I think the platform that Fox has just by far surpasses Showtime, as well as the platform they have to promote. And that's the key right there, man. That is the biggest key right there, is having the platform to promote in front of 300 million plus people.
Crazy.
So, yeah, man. So speaking of, to segue into, you know, we were just talking about HBO, man.
Oh, yeah. We got to wrap up with that.
You know, we got a couple fights this weekend. I mean, first and foremost, because I want to save HBO for last because I think it deserves it. But you know, we got another lightweight unification well, not another one, but basically this is Lomachenko's first unification at lightweight, but we got a lot of unification fights this year. I'm like just thinking in my head right now. At lightweight, and what's crazy is that this is Lomachenko's second fight at lightweight,
Right.
This is the second world title fight in this, and it being now a unification fight, and it's against Jorge Pedraza.
How many fights total do he got again? Like 10? Professional, I mean.
11 or 12 fights.
That's crazy, yo. That's insane.
It is, man.
It like show you that numbers are inflated though, like with a lot of these records.
Yeah, you got it. The resume, you know, the resumes, the bread, you know, the bread and the butter. But look, the fight we want, and we wanted at least at this point, it was Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia. And even as recent as like a month and a half ago, some of us were still thinking like, man, you know, because we were hearing Mikey was gonna go fight this dude Richard Kami for
at 35, right?
Right. Yeah. And we're like, oh, okay, word. And then we were hearing Bob was talking to Robert Garcia because some of his guys.
Well, I think Robert was on board with what you're saying.
Yeah. I think the majority of people.
Yeah, majority, the whole crew.
Yeah,
Mikey, just real quick, Mikey has a lot of control of his career. It's not like these other guys.
He does. And look, and what I'll say with Lomachenko too, if you go through his track record, I forgot the dude that manages him. He manages some of the other Ukrainian fighters, but they did this documentary where Lomachenko and his people were telling Bob, like, yo, man, like, we don't, because you know how Bob be, man.
Right.
He be like, oh yeah, take this dude, and he's like, no, like, give me this guy, give me Mariaga, give me this guy, give me, or you know, these level of dudes that, you know, it's like, all right, and again, only 12 fights in, and what I tell people about the Rigondeaux fight, people like Bob didn't want to make that fight for what, not so much because he was afraid of what Rigondeaux would do, like, you know, beating him.
Right.
He just thought it'd be a boring fight. And Lomachenko told him, goes, listen, man, the fans want to see it. This dude's saying he'll fight me at 130. Let's do it. And he forced Bob's hand to do it, and it got made. And the Linares fight, it was like that was the next move, and they got it done. But he's kind of a guy. I wouldn't say as far as like how Mikey is, because Mikey's just more experienced. I mean, he went through a lot of crap with Bob, you know, and he learned a lot of the business dealing with what he went through with Bob. And you know, it's just a situation now, man, with Lomachenko. He's in a unification fight, and we love unification fights. And a lot of us thought it was going to be Ray Beltran. I mean, we thought he was going to beat Jorge Pedraza. Yeah. Remember, you know, we forget about that.
I know.
You know, so look, man, Jorge Pedraza, he's a good fighter. And look, man, and look, I could be biased with the, you know, being African and everything, but look, man, I talked to Pops-in-law and everything, like literally before, like hours before.
You had to let him know. Yeah.
And I was like, yo, man, so you know, his name's Kike. I was like, yo, Kike, man, what's? He goes, don't. He's like, you never know. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm like, no, but you know, I know he's joking. I know he's joking.
No, I know. He was making fun of his stuff.
Yeah. So look, man, I think a lot of us expect Lomachenko to win rather easily or pretty handily. It's just the question now, man, like where he goes from here, you know, because now that Mikey is not gonna be really a fight that's gonna, and I don't think Mikey's gonna go back to 135. That's just like, you know, like I don't think he's gonna be able to make the weight anymore. So now you start to ask yourself, like, all right, well, what's in Lomachenko's immediate future, man? And it's kind of like the same question we had with Bud. And that's something we didn't even talk about yet. But I don't know, man. I mean, we're all obviously gonna watch. It's gonna be on ESPN. And you know, I expect Lomachenko to win rather handily, man.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. Pedraza is a guy, obviously, that Tank had for lunch.
Oh, right. You forgot.
You're forgetting about that. So, and then listen, we don't like doing triangle theories in boxing, but you know, you saw what happens when, you know, speed and power overwhelms guys, and Lomachenko has that to the 30th power. You know, I just think that it's one of these fights. I just guess he wanted to stay busy because, let's face it, you know, well, his last fight, you know, actually was a little theatrical, but I mean, I guess he wanted to stay busy on the way out the door, which is a good thing. I like when fighters, want to stay busy and take these kind of fights, even though we kind of know the result before it happens. To Pops-in-law, wink, 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 wink. It is boxing, but we'll watch it obviously. But I'm just happy that that this is happening. The only thing that I'm a little bummed out about is that I think Mikey Garcia is kind of distancing himself away from ever possibly fighting Lomachenko because of the weight, right? Can he keep
it's over?
Yeah, because if you think about the weight situation, he's moving up to fight Earl Spence, and Mikey's what, 31?
About something like that.
All right, so what weight would they fight at now? You know what I mean? Like
Loma's a small 135.
He's a small 35. I know his skills are off the charts. I think what happens, because I was talking to somebody, they're like, well, Pacquiao moved up. I said, yeah, but Pacquiao, it's weird because Lomachenko is technically he's a better fighter, period, like skill-wise.
Right.
But Pacquiao had, I guess we can compare it to baseball. You got on-base hitters. And
On-base hitters, right.
Hitting guys that could just knock it out the park. But that doesn't mean that guy that knocks it out the park is I think even with baseball, people think that player is a better player than a guy that manufacture runs.
Like Sammy Sosa. Like
Sammy, right. The great, yeah.
But, and again, there was the whole steroids and everything. Yeah. I don't want to draw that parallel either, but,
But even like with a guy like Barry Bonds, like he just wasn't a home run hitter. Like this guy, he's a complete player.
Right. He can hit.
Like when Mark McGwire was just, he went from a bad player to this home run hitter. This not. So the same thing kind of like with boxing is that, and I'm not saying Pacquiao's a bad fighter. Like, he's just one-dimensional. He just had an explosiveness where Lomachenko, he systematically breaks guys down.
Right.
And listen, we can go through a bunch of great fighters that only could move up but so far. Like, it's just how it is. So I think that when people think that, because I'm going to be honest, at one time I was like, oh, man, he can move up to whatever weight and he'll be fine. And then I'm like, this dude is really little. He's a little dude. And it would look.
Yeah.
Go on. What you saying?
No. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just saying like he's just a little guy. Like I just don't think that if him and Mikey was the fight, 140 would be a stretch, but that would be the farthest I think it could go.
I'm reading the chat here. Lord High Executioner saying that Loma's not that small. When he was at 130, he rehydrated at 140. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Even now, him at 135, like he only hydrates to like 142. Now, here's when fighters come in the night of a fight, like you take a welterweight that makes 147, right?
I got you. Yeah.
That dude's coming in like 162, 163, and this is part of the thing with Mikey fighting Spence.
Right, yeah.
That Mikey is not going to be weighing 145 like somebody that looks like he cut weight. He's looking like he might not say he's going to look chunky, but like he's going to look like he's added some weight on him. Right, and Mikey's not a bodybuilder or anything like that. But
he's another systematic guy that I'm one of these guys.
The night of the fight, man, Spence is going to be like 162, 163, full-fledged, like maybe borderline middleweight.
Yeah.
And Mikey's going to be maybe 145, 146, man, because he's not a welterweight. Based on what the fighters do to make welterweight. And that's the thing with Loma, like, even at 135, look at when Linares fought him. Like, look how big Linares was. Like, that was ridiculous.
And you go through history.
This adds to the fact that, like, he in his first fight against a dude like Linares, who, again, like, we can't, like, not, like, downplay this dude. I mean, he was a long-standing champ. He had some rough setbacks early, but, I mean, he's still a tough dude to fight. And I think as time goes on, he'll probably get more acclimated to 135, meaning Lomachenko. And look, maybe him and Tank becomes the fight. You know, that's not immediate.
That's where I was going to go next.
That's probably the fight. You know, I just think like to your point, man. I think when Mikey made the decision to go fight Spence, I was like, it's over with.
Yeah, and listen, from Mikey, just to be fair to Mikey a little bit here, Mikey looking at it from the standpoint of, well, I have an opportunity to make money doing other things.
Right.
Where
Exactly.
Lomachenko, he don't have the options that Mikey Garcia has, you know, and that's why his contract is going to be pretty big coming up. What is it, in July? His contract's up with Top Rank.
Oh, Lomachenko, yeah, that's another thing, man.
That's another thing. You know, I'm sure he's going to have his sit down with Al because they're all going to make the run. So,
yo, can you imagine that?
I already know. Yeah,
can you imagine that?
I would love that because then that would put him on. Let me tell you why. If I was him, I would do that because
like think of the matchups.
Everybody's there over there. Like
the thing is, a lot of those guys, he'll be the guy to fight at lightweight.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's so much more.
Out.
That's why I'm like I'm waiting to see how this goes because the money line for him. If I'm him, then okay, now Mikey, like, all right, maybe we can fight at a catch base.
Yeah, right.
Listen, for the record, just for the record,
well, yeah.
we got Lomachenko beating Mikey Garcia. Let's just put that out there right now. Like everybody in Guard Your Girl, me, Rada, and Roberto, like the consensus is, and I'm not speaking for any of these guys, the consensus is Lomachenko beats him. The problem is we're just trying to figure out if the fight happens, what weight is it going to happen at? You know, that's the stumbling block. And how bad is Mikey Garcia going to lose to Spence?
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's huge right there, right?
That's a big what if, you know.
Like this is like some real like Rocky stuff where the brother, they're like real brothers. It's not like they got different dads and he just met up with his long lost brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like really close, like this family of fighters. But Robert seems like there's a soft spot. That's his little brother, and nobody's going to tell me that this is going to be like Rocky, where throw the towel, and he's just going to ignore it.
I've been saying from the beginning when this was announced is that Robert that night is not only going to be his trainer, but he's going to be his brother. Probably more of his brother.
It's going to be his brother. It's a different
brother. And if he gets in trouble, I don't think
Papa Trinidad against Bernard became dad that night.
Yeah.
Come on home.
Good point.
Son crying in your head.
Same thing with Brooke, his corner, man. Like they just knew. They're like, come on, man. Like
that was like a father and son relationship because that was his trainer his whole life. It is like a family, you know, because these people be like your family.
Now think of that fight, you know, because I know people talk about,
that's what it's going to be like, that Brooke and Triple G fight.
Think of if that fight had gone another round and a half.
I don't even want to think about it because it would have been.
It could have been really.
Really bad.
We're coming off, starting the show off. I
was getting ready to say we know where this thing can go.
Like, we don't want, and this is why I say when people make a big deal about, he quit or whatever. I'm like, look, man, like there's nothing wrong. Number one, with taking the knee. There's nothing wrong with your corner if you're getting in that much trouble, man. Like. It ain't cool to like be permanently hurt, man. So that's what I'm saying.
Brooke will never be the same again from that fight. I think so,
man. I don't think so.
Then he fought Spence right after it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
But any case, man. So yeah, man. It's crazy to say, man. HBO has their very last card this weekend, man. Again, like not a super star-studded, affair. Though one of the attractions Saturday is Larry Merch is gonna jump on board and do the last telecast, which should be dope.
That's fitting. It's
fitting, right, man? Yeah. I'm pretty sure Lampley's gonna be like waterfall.
Right.
And look, I think they're probably gonna do like a nice homage and everything. And look, I'm looking at the card right now. Yo, Clarissa Shields, okay. She just fought, right? But she is the only boxer, male or female, that has fought on Showtime, DAZN, and HBO in one calendar year, man. Wow. So look, if she can do it, y'all can do it too.
Right? Yeah, that's crazy.
Keep hope alive, man. So, any case, she's gonna be fighting because she was supposed to be fighting Christina Hammer. She got injured. Like I forgot what injury she had. Like she had to like literally like take a sabbatical and she had to vacate her title. So they're fighting for, I think, the IBF, WBA, WBC women's middleweight title. So that's gonna be the first card. Then Juan Francisco Estrada and Victor Mendez, the two junior bantamweights, and then Cecilia Breakus, who they were trying to like, I think she's undefeated, and they're trying to make her like a star and everything. And she has a title defense against Alexandra Lopez. She's the full undisputed women's welterweight champion. WBC, wow. WBO, IBF, and WBA undefeated. So. Yeah, man, that's going to be the final card this Saturday, and Chocolatito was supposed to fight on the card. He got injured, so that's why the Estrada Mendez fight is going to take place of that. But, just to wrap up the show, man, HBO has been a fixture, really. I mean, for us, with the GYGB crew, man, like we're, if at anything, man, like we're the HBO era. I mean, we really are. I mean, all of us remember, or we've been fans long enough to kind of see the twilight years of, CBS and NBC and ABC, Wild World of Sports. We were young, seeing like the end of that, and then HBO becoming kind of the
sparkle, like you said, the twilight.
It was the platform to.
Where's the big, yeah.
And, I started going back and thinking like, man, what are some of the fights I remember seeing, man? And then you start going back and
so
like,
many. I tried, yeah.
It's nuts. And look, just a little trivia for some of you guys. The first fight that HBO telecasted was February 1973.
Wow.
George Foreman versus Joe Frazier won. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
I didn't even know that was on HBO. That fight was on there?
Well, what it was, I believe it was, it wasn't live. They didn't start doing the live joints until I think a year or two after. But they had the fight, back in the day, they still do the theater, but that's back in the day. That's the only way you could have watched the fights. It's like you had to go to the theater and watch a closed circuit before pay-per-view. It was closed circuit. You go to the theater. And sometimes you go to an arena and they'd have the fight up there and you would literally be in an arena and watch a fight. But a lot of times it was the movie theater. But HBO I guess they got the rights and they were able to air it. As the years went on, I mean, you start to think of some of the legendary fights that HBO started just airing on their own. I mean, I posted a tweet today, man, or not tweet, on the gram. One of the most talked about fights in the last 30 years and one of the most controversial endings in boxing history, man. Chavez, Meldrick Taylor. I mean, that was on HBO. I watched that live as it happened. It's one of the earlier memories I have as far as like being a kid and watching boxing. That was like 1990, man. That was like pre high school years, man. And I remember watching that, like, and being around, like, some of my relatives and stuff, like, freaking out. Like, I remember that, like, vividly, man. And then, like, as we, got into our adolescence, man, I mean.
Yeah. I'm going to really make you feel old here. Remember HBO had its own program guide. You remember that? It would come in the mail, or maybe, I forget where you got it from. Did you buy it from somewhere?
Wasn't it like the grocery store?
But maybe it was the grocery store. I got one better for you. Most of the time I saw this guy was at hotels. Like, remember the hotels would broadcast. We have remember this color TV and HBO.
Yeah, that was
I'm going back in the 80s. Like,
you're like, woo!
Yeah, you be all happy, like the knobs with the buttons, with the Darth. We used to call them the Darth Vader buttons.
That had the antenna on it.
So they, you just remember stuff, like something sticks out to you. And there was this 19-year-old kid on the HBO program guide. Helen from Brownsville, from Brooklyn, Iron Mike Tyson. And I just remember being mesmerized, that he was a teenager. That was like pretty dope stuff back. You're like, wow, this muscular looking dude. He's not that much too much older than us. He's a teenager. Get ready to take the world by storm. Like that was like I still look forward to that when we went to stay at hotels to look at the program HBO got, because most of the time you went away, it was on a weekend, and there was a fight on that weekend. So this goes to show you how much boxing used to be on in the 80s. Like literally there was a fight on like every weekend. So like the program guy would show these fighters. But one of my favorite moments of HBO wasn't a boxing moment, and it wasn't that long ago, was Roy Jones. This is what I loved about HBO, because they understood and they got the theatric part, which I thought Showtime in the beginnings didn't get this part of it. Where
right. That's what
the fighters are the show in the story here. And Larry Merchant, I know a lot of people didn't like him, but he was a great instigator, because the way sports is covered now is different, where the media personalities are personalities themselves, basically. Like some of these dudes are more famous. Max Kellerman walks around with a security team. Like you can't even get near to talk to him. So, but back then, media guys were just regular Joe Blow type dudes, but what have you. So Larry Merchant was the ultimate instigator, right? So Roy Jones knocked out Montel Griffin, right?
Oh my God!
Second time. So Larry goes, Roy, what do you think? Getting his take on the fight. He said, no, Larry, you was talking that mess too. He said, this man has a family. I did not want to come in here and have to embarrass him. First of all, he always started off with Pensacola in the house. Pensacola in the house. So anyway, so he says, I didn't even want to bring RJ out tonight. Remember he said that? I brought RJ out tonight. I was used to seeing Roy Jones. Then there was another one that then we wrap up, was him and Bernard. And you know which one to bet. 60-40 and I whipped that ass.
40,
Yo, that was so classic. That's one of the best post-fight interviews ever.
Comedy, man. Comedy.
It was so, because that's why I'm not too hard on some of these fighters, because, listen, we grew up in an era, I was telling ROD this, fighters used to go to press conferences and call these guys. That's the stuff you see in the movies came from real life.
Remember Aaron Pryor showed up?
I was going to say Aaron Pryor.
I just want to fight, man. I just want to fight with Sugar Ray Leonard.
He just want to fight. That's the one of the most infamous ones. Like now, it do look a little staged and corny.
Or now everybody's like, hey,
like Sean Porter and Earl Smith was so phony. Where that Roy and Bernard was like, do something. You gonna stop ducking me, Roy? He said 60-40 and I whooped that ass. Bernard kept saying 50-50, 50-40. He said 60.
Yeah, that whole that when the whole PBC did the whole
Oscar HBO a big thank you to Roy Jones and Oscar De La Hoya, because they saved that bridge of boxing where it was like, you went from Tyson. Remember, the heavyweight was like a glacier that they crashed into. Like, it was like, okay, where do we go now? Because listen, we like Holyfield, Lewis. None of those guys was polarizing like Tyson, where everything stopped, where you had to go watch them. Where Sugar Ray Leonard didn't fight long enough. Where it's like, okay, so what are we going to do next? Like, even though Leonard was before Tyson, you had this bridge with HBO. Then Roy and De La Hoya comes along where. And I think a lot of people don't realize this or don't know. That's why they call Oscar De La Hoya the Golden Boy, because he was like King Midas. Like he was just golden. And I seen it. Anybody that ever been to a De La Hoya fight, I never seen anything like it in my life. Like how he's like, was like a movie star. How he just brought all these people
absolutely
to come see. Like it was crazy. Like they had a trailer with look-alike contest, and me and my man was like, damn, no wonder Bernard was calling him out. You know what I mean? Like,
right. She stole the bag, yo.
But, HBO had the graphics. They had the theatrics. Some of their coverage was biased. But now that I'm older and I understand the business of media and how it works, they was protecting the bag. De La Hoya was the bag. So when De La Hoya fought, it was biased commentary because he was the bag. It's no different from ESPN talking about LeBron James and the Dallas Cowboys every day. I don't care what show you turn on, those in Tom Brady, maybe, in the Warriors. They talk about the same 4 topics every day all year. LeBron is talked about from January until January. Same thing with the Dallas. The Cowboys has pretty much been irrelevant. They're always on TV, and they always get talked about because they bring this. So it's the same thing with boxing. They're biased to the guys that bring the money in. It's just, I know people don't like it, but that's just how it is. You know what I mean?
Across the board, man. I mean, it goes across the board. I mean, it's the same thing with the zone.
Yeah, right? It's just,
I mean, you know,
yeah, man. It's something that we had it. It's so different now because you called this, my dude, years ago. You said streaming, and the people don't know this. Disney is coming.
The Disney Plus set, or
once they come,
yeah.
Cable's good. You know what cable's going to be? Like VCRs, where as we keep going with generations, it's going to be an old thing. Like, remember cable TV?
it's just what's happening. It's just everything's heading in that direction, man. I mean, whether it's music and
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Film. It's just that's where just everything is headed. It's just obviously going to take some time for it to become the standard. Remember when HD TVs first came out?
Oh, yeah, now
you could go get one like up the block, like for
so
like,
you gonna get one. Listen, remember I told you last year I got me a big listen. I was just in Walmart grocery shopping and grabbed a TV for a crazy deal. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, we're kind of looking into it too, you know. so yeah, man. I think it's just, you know, like they say, man, the end of an era. And we've seen, I mean, even for the younger generation, man, just go onto YouTube and type HBO Legendary Nights, and you'll get. I mean, and what Train's talking about, man, is HBO's production value over the years, man, is what really helped. I mean, on top of, like, you know, what Train was saying, like with Oscar and just, I mean, there's so many fighters to name and fights, man. I mean, look, I think the fight that comes to mind naturally in the modern era, like in the last, like, you know, 20 years, is Gotti Ward. You know,
we forgot about. Oh man,
yeah, like I don't. Yeah, we'd have to like mention that. I mean, that fight is a fight that even people who don't watch boxing at all, you say Gotti Ward, like, oh yeah, you know, it's that, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg as it relates to just all the fights we've seen over the years on HBO. I mean, we're talking about a network that is older than all of us in GYGB, man. I mean, it's pretty wild, but you know, we're heading into a new era, man, and you know, our kids are gonna experience what maybe is the embryonic stages of the new way of watching boxing, man. Is it gonna be the zone? Is Fox gonna start creating a streaming app now? And it's, you know, it's gonna get nuts, man. And this is all happening within the last 3 months. All these like changes. So think about the entire next year and the year after and the year after that, man. But we got YouTube for the most part.
Before we go, I had to throw in Barrera and Morales.
Oh man,
might be one of the best trilogies in the history.
You know, like there's so much, man. They just. Yeah.
I mean, we can go on. Maybe we should just do a show.
Yeah.
Just do that.
I think because I mean, we do got fights coming up all the way to like.
Oh, no doubt. Maybe we'll do it at the end of the year or something when we don't have nothing else.
I like the wrap-up show. Yeah, the wrap-up show. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it, man. The HBO card, I believe, starts at like 10 o'clock. They
kill us on the East Coast, man.
Yo, right, man. I mean, we're not trying to sound like, you know, old men or anything, man. But it's just like
brutal, man. Even with sports, like the basketball, like I want to watch this Lakers and
yo. All right, let me ask you a question. How many LeBron games have you watched since he's been with the Lakers?
Well, in the beginning, I was front running. I stayed up and watched them, but now, now that it's a little old, not many because
get on the gram.
It's weird because LeBron is the biggest attraction in basketball, right?
Yeah.
So your biggest attraction normally comes on, and I know the NBA is like, damn. Now the Lakers had Kobe and Shaq, so I'm sure people stayed up and watched them. But LeBron is just so different because how polarized. Like he's the biggest thing to Jordan, basically, as far as being a one-man show that everybody wants to see. You know, so I know that the ratings had to take a little bit of a dip with him not being on East Coast time like how he was. Listen, he's been on East Coast time his whole life. I mean, his whole NBA life.
Career.
it's just brutal being on the East Coast, man.
Oh man.
But the fights part, man, like you be at these fight parties, dudes be falling asleep.
Yo,
That's ride or die. Like it'd be crazy, bro. Like
I know. I know
what I'm talking about, right?
I know my man. I know my man Reem. Shout out to my man Reem. He's gonna kill me for this, man, but he is notorious
For falling asleep.
falling asleep. Yo,
I ain't mad at him.
Yo, my man fell. All right, right before Cotto Canelo was about the first round was about to, you know, bell was about to ring.
Yo, hey, listen, but I'm not listen, Roberto.
I get it though. It's happening.
It's almost 1 a.m, dude. Like, who's up this? Listen, when Canelo fought Floyd, that was the latest effort, right? Was that the latest effort? That was like 1 a.m.
Yeah,
it started like 12:30.
But that's becoming a norm now.
The whole fight party was asleep, basically.
Yo,
I was up like maybe. I think Rod or Die had a game with his son that day, so he was nodding off. Sleep was like his name was out. I think Docs was up. It was only like 3 of us up, like in the middle of the fight.
During Canelo Floyd?
They was knocked out, like snoring sleep. It's crazy.
Yo, that's bugged out, man. That's bugged out. Hey, but look, man. So yeah, HBO, you know, thank you for, you know, giving us some legendary fights, man. I mean, there's fights that we're going to be talking about for years, man. I mean, talking to my kids, maybe my grandkids when it comes to that time, man, as far as just what we saw. And that's not even including the pay-per-view fights, you know, we got over the years, you know, as, you know, the 90s rolled in and the whole nine. But salute to HBO, man. But, you know, we'll be back next week. You know, again, boxing every day or every week up until just before Christmas. Next week, the debut of Canelo on, like, you seen the commercials on, they've been showing them on, like, CBS and everything.
I was going to say, I was going to tell you that I see these commercials during football games. Like,
damn, yo, it's smart, man. It's smart.
It is.
You know, Fox did it with the Mikey and Spence. You know, that was real smart to do. But I've been seeing crazy ads, like, every now and then, like, Michael Buffer with this,
right.
Canelo, like, you know, look, man, let's see what happens. You know, I mean, I think we want it to flourish. You know what I mean? I don't think any of us want it to, like,
yeah, no, we're fan. We don't care about who's making more. We just want to see these fights take place at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then, you know, just don't be giving us lagging streams.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But yeah, so we'll be back. We'll be back next week talking about Canelo and Rocky Fielding. Maybe Triple G will show up on some WWE stuff again.
We gotta wait for Rod or Die too, because we're going to do a new segment. Where are they now? We're going to do our Where Are They Now?
Or are these doing that one?
Yeah, we're gonna wait, because that was kind of his bag. Because remember, he brought up Aaron Hall doing dog whispers. I'll guarantee you, if you pull up any celebrity from like an '80s TV show, you'll be shocked at their career. Listen, these dudes gotta eat. They still gotta live. People don't realize that. Like, you remember Ghostface had the line in Rainy Days talking about waiting on royalties. Like, remember he had that line?
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting royalties from syndication, like, and some of these guys aren't, because they was just like character actors. It just takes so long, and you got bills you got to pay every month. You got a family. Like, you got to do what you got to do out here. So we'll bring that up next week when ROD back. Rod or Die love that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. So yeah, shout out to ROD. Shout out to the whole crew. Sleep Docs.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, we'll be back next week. After that, Charlo's on Fox, and that'll pretty much wrap up 2018. So. Follow us at Guard Your Grill Boxing on Instagram, and appreciate all the follows on Facebook, facebook.com/GYG Boxing. So, till next week, man, we out. Peace.
Peace.